Hey guys, you're watching the Best Practices Show where we take a look at the best business practices from the best dental practices all over the world. And if you're growing your dental practice, you know that watching these metrics is critically important. And today we're going to be talking about the biggest loss that you have every day and you don't even know what it is. So stick around. I got my good friend Curtis Marshall from Dental Intel on. You do not want to miss this. So do me a favor, grab a pen and hit the share button. We'll see you in a second. All right. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Best Practice Show. We're so grateful you guys are on. Thank you for all of your suggestions. The show keeps growing. I don't know how that's working, but continue to share with all your friends and continue to give us great feedback on the things you want to see, and we'll do our best to get them on. And as you're going to see, we've got a great series going here with my good friend Curtis Marshall from Dental Intel. And I'm going to do a short little introduction for somebody that might be watching this for the first time, Curtis, because we got a lot of dental students that are watching this that might not know what Dental Intel is, but you guys changed the game for us. You guys basically came into the dental world and you're data experts and created an app now that allows us to be able to see with greater clarification what's happening in the practices that we coach. And it's just made our jobs so much easier. I often think of you guys as you're like the digital dentistry aspect of restorative dentistry. You're now giving us greater depths, greater clarity, greater resolution to what we can see. So if people don't know who Dental Intel is or who Curtis Marshall is, give us a little background. Who are you, buddy?
Well, how dare they? First off, if they don't know who I am, just kidding. But Kirk, thanks for that great intro. Yeah, our main goal is to increase two things, and that's it: patient care, team performance. A lot of people think, oh, you're a numbers company. No, we're here to increase patient care and team performance. Those are the two main things that we're trying to increase. So with that being said, now we're able to gather all the data from a practice and tell you in the practice where to improve today to increase patient care and team performance.
That's awesome.
Myself, that's one reason why you and I get along so well is we're here to really help the patient themselves. Not so much help ourselves, not so much as help others, but really make sure that the patient has the best experience.
Absolutely. Because if you're a dentist watching this, that's where you want to spend all of your energy anyway, and it gives you the greatest level of fulfillment. And you also know that you run a business and things have to get better. They've got to improve. It allows you to give your best energy to the things that matter most when that's happening. And Curtis, you and I were talking about this before we went on, is that we have to know what's happening in order to be able to improve it. I've heard this for years, but all change happens first with telling the truth. You look at, even a change process like AA, one of the first pieces is accepting that there's a problem before you improve it. If you're on a weight loss program, the first step is to weigh in and do a body fat composition.
The scale doesn't lie.
The scale doesn't lie. Numbers never lie. And through that, we can start to diagnose what happens. And no different than running a business, you've got to know your numbers, because numbers don't lie. They reduce the amount of emotion you have around your business. And when you have data, you can start to improve them. And today we're going to be talking about one of the most important loss categories. We've been talking about gain categories, but today we're going to be talking about a loss category. What is it that most dentists don't know that's critically important to their practices?
Well, Kirk, this is really cool. This is probably the most devastating number within a practice, and no one really knows what's going on.
Right.
This is something, and we don't really like to talk negatively. In fact, we never use numbers as a weapon, first off. Right. We never use numbers as a weapon. And the number that we're going to start looking at today, you're going to want to say, oh, that's not me, or we're good, or yeah, I'm sure there's an issue there, but it's okay. What is that? It's broken appointments.
Okay.
Broken appointments. Kirkland, I didn't tell you this, but just this morning on my way into work, I get a text, right? Get a text. Hey, Curtis, confirm your 7 a.m. meeting on Friday, of dental appointment on Friday. And I'm like, I actually booked an appointment for that time. I give them a call. and I say, hey, any chance that I can move my appointment from 7 to 11 o'clock, right?
Right.
Is that a broken appointment? That's my first question.
Well, that's what we're going to get into, because there's two schools of thought. Sometimes team members just move that, or they delete it, and so we're not keeping track of that. So that is a great, great place to start, Curtis, because let's back up for 1 second. Let's talk about the why of this. And because I want to go into the nuances of this. The why of this is the lives of people, patients specifically, it's just getting busier. Nobody I know is like, yeah, I don't know, I got nothing to do today. I was going to read a book.
Well, typically I don't have a 7 o'clock appointment, right? I typically start my day about 8, 9 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Right.
So I always book my cleaning at 7. Yet this week, something happened. Life happens. Believe it or not, guys, the world does not revolve around your practice. Unfortunately, it does not. Right. So with that being, Kirk, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's okay that people's lives change.
Yeah, absolutely. And the broken appointment thing, again, let's talk about why it's so important. We're going to define broken appointments here in a second. But broken appointment percentage is an important metric as a dentist that you have to pay attention to, because when it's low, it's reducing the amount of stress that you have on your team. It's showing that people are making appointments, keeping them, and then it gives you some indication of how many are rescheduling. But if broken appointments is high and you don't know that they're high, what you're doing is you're putting exponential stress on the team around you to keep the schedule full. And you as a dentist might go, well, we don't have any problems. My schedule's full every day. But you don't realize that the amazing people up front have spent 75% of their day just putting out fires. And so this metric is really important to streamline the efficiency of any dental practice and patient retention ultimately. So
yeah, they're playing Tetris up front, and some doctors don't know this. But just because the schedule says it's full tomorrow or in 2 days from now does not mean it's going to be full, because people do break and move appointments. Right. The question is why? Are they moving them because of lack of knowledge? Or are they moving them because of they just don't care? Or are they moving it because they don't want to come back in the office? What is the true reason that they're breaking the appointments? If you don't know that, you can't fix it.
Absolutely. And in order to find out the true reason, let's first define what a broken appointment is, okay? Because sometimes people don't know what that is. So Curtis, give us your definition of what a broken appointment is.
Okay, we have two. A broken appointment is anyone that's moving their appointment on the schedule, whether they're moving it off the schedule completely or they're moving it. And the reason for that is because if, for example, my appointment on this Friday, right? If I broke my appointment, if I would have kept my appointment, the front office doesn't have to do anything. But the fact that I'm moving my appointment from 7 to 11 a.m., now the office needs to work harder to fill up the schedule at 7 a.m. Right. They have to work more. We don't want you to work more. So in order for you to know what's happening, you need to track and understand that even a moving appointment is a broken appointment.
Right.
So a broken appointment is, it would be that and specifically, and then it breaks into two categories: a no-show and a cancellation. Right. No-show would be not showing up under 24 hours. Cancellation would be more than 24 hours. So today's Wednesday. That means that on Friday, this is now considered a cancellation move, not a no-show.
Yeah, and that's so important that you mentioned that, because those are two completely different behaviors, a no-show and a cancellation. So it's important to track those. And Curtis, how do you track those? Do you use the ADA codes within Dental Intel to track those, or do you ask providers to create their own codes?
Good question. There's two. They're brand new, about a year or two ago. D9987 and D9986. 9987 and 9986 are the two broken codes, one for no-shows and one for cancellations. We track those, absolutely. We track those that way. Or additionally, just making sure that you're breaking the codes correctly. Within your practice management system, there's different ways. EagleSoft, Open Dental, Dentrix, SoftDent, all of them have different ways. Just make sure you call up your practice management software, or you can give us a call at Dental Intel, and we'll tell you what the way the practice management system wants you to break it, which is so important that you understand it's the way they want you to track it because they set it up. Unfortunately, it's not all the same.
Right. Now, this is really important what Curtis just said. So, because a lot of team members do this, not only because they haven't been trained correctly how to do this, they'll move an appointment. So when Curtis calls and says, I can't get in at 7, they'll move the appointment down to 11, and it doesn't track the behavior. It doesn't track an actual cancellation, and then it was rebooked. It was just an appointment that was moved from one time to another. Correct? Am I correct in
Correct.
assuming
And if you don't want to improve people moving appointments, there's no way to track it other than breaking the appointment and then rescheduling it.
Right.
If you're fine with, hey, I'm okay with them moving it within one day. If you're okay with that, then don't break it.
Right.
Whatever you want to improve on, just like you said with the weight loss thing, right? If you're fine with your weight, you feel good, there's no reason to jump on the scale.
Right. Right. Now, the delete too, if you delete the appointment, it's also not going to track the behavior on that, correct?
Correct. In some softwares, that's absolutely true. Like for example, in Dentrix, if you delete the appointment, it actually deletes it and it doesn't show it as it's being done. But if you delete it in Eaglesoft, that is the way they want you to break it. Okay. So you delete it and then they give you 3 options. So it all depends on the software, but you don't want to truly delete it.
Okay.
Right? You want to break the appointment. Whatever that definition is within your practice management software, break it, don't full on delete it.
Okay, very good to know. And now, you and I didn't talk about this, but I do get this question. I'm going to proactively ask it to you. The ADA codes, when you put those broken appointments in, does that record a visit? So the question is, and would that skew the data for you guys? Like sometimes I've heard this, but I don't know if this is true, is the ADA codes, when you put them in, if you break them, it actually records a visit that didn't happen. But is that true or not true?
That's not true.
Okay,
so
good.
That is a number that we absolutely know what it is. Now, if you have a fake code like P90X,
right.
Let's say you create a code P90X, right? And you think that's an appointment. Well, then any intelligence, any software doesn't know what P90X is. So they're going to think that that's some type of production or something, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's D9987 or D9986, everyone knows that's a broken appointment, which means that there wasn't an appointment. So really good question.
Very good to know. Very good to know.
Use the ADA codes. If anything else, use on everything, not just broken appointments. Always use the correct ADA code.
Okay, good to know, because these are questions that I get. Now, give us some type of a baseline. What is healthy? What is unhealthy? Because you hear a lot of different people talking about this. What are you typically seeing as far as broken appointment percentages on average?
Okay, good question, because ultimately, once again, if you don't know, you're like, well, I think that there might be a little bit of problem, but we're okay, right? So what are you okay with? That's the question. Are you okay with 20%? Are you okay with 30%? What is it that you're fine with? What we're seeing nationally as an average, before people are able to see what's going on, about 15%.
Okay. Tell us what that means, 15%. So 15% of the appointments that are scheduled in these practices are being broken in 2 ways, no-shows or canceled, right?
Correct. Yep. So it's either one of 2 things. They're either not showing up or they are calling up and we're breaking the appointment. And this is from a myriad of different ways that people do it. But typically 15%, Kirk, it's before people realize they should be breaking appointments even when they're moving them. So it's not counting the movement of appointments. It's just breaking appointments.
Right.
Right. It's truly, hey, I'm calling up, I'm not rescheduling, I'm breaking the appointment. It's not the moving that we talked about. 15% is the average. Top 10% of offices are under 10% of their appointments are being broke. So if you're under 10%, you're in the top 10, maybe top 15% of all offices nationwide.
Right. And you can see where we're headed with this. We're going to open up a whole can of worms here, because we're going to be talking about 2 different things. Number one is the initial broken, the initial aspect of it, but then also what happens afterwards. And Curtis, you were telling me about that. There's 2 different issues. Is is getting them. Number one is breaking the appointment and tracking that and paying attention to that number, but then also getting them back. Give us a little perspective on that whole deal.
Yeah, let's actually, Kirk, this is a good number to look at.
Okay.
Let me show you something here. This is right here. This is showing us March, last month, okay? The office 2:30, the best time of the day, right? 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so in this practice, okay, and this is once again, that regular practice. 7% canceled last month, 9% no-showed.
Wow.
That equals 16%. Very common, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 42, and these people are not breaking them in this scenario, they are not breaking them when they move them. This is a regular practice. So 42 of the cancellation appointments. Okay, so 42, well, maybe 42 broke, but almost all of them rescheduled because my front office or me in the front office, I'm so good at rescheduling, which you may really well be. But if you don't know this number, that is what is so detrimental.
Right.
Out of the 42, 30 patients have 0 future appointments. They have nothing in the future.
That is crazy. Now, let's add some additional perspective to this. You and I were talking, the average patient value to this practice is $439 a year. We like it to be somewhere 800 or north of that number, but let's just do the math on that. That's $13,170 lost in this time frame. Just on the cancellation side. That's just on, that doesn't include no-shows. So, you add no-shows into there, you're talking about losing $26,000 or more, probably close to $30,000 a year just on this metric.
No. That's a month.
Oh, that's a month. That's a month.
This is 1 month.
Okay. But the patient value to the practice a year, because we're assuming these patients aren't going to come back. Yeah. So, yeah. But so, and I hate saying this, but sometimes dentists really need to know what they're losing, because they're not often so inspired about what they might gain. But here's the challenge is you're losing a lot by not knowing this number.
Absolutely. You cannot improve if you don't know both the broke and how many people are actually breaking the appointment. In addition, out of those patients, how many are not scheduled. 2 totally different, yet very important numbers. We want to know how many are actually breaking, because let's say, Kirk, let's say 42 canceled and 0 are unscheduled, meaning they are all scheduled. Every single one of them has a future appointment. That's a totally different conversation, a totally different training, a totally different having ACT come in and help out, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're having that many 42 broken and 0 are unscheduled, that means everyone is rescheduling, which means we need to improve. What would you say in that scenario? If we're moving a lot of appointments and everyone's getting rescheduled, what should we be focusing on now?
Yeah. Well, there's so many things. Number one, fixing the system in which we follow up with these people. I mean, you got to have a really solid follow through system, and everybody knows in every business, the real profit is in the follow through, because if you've got a system that retains patients, keeps patients, and people are making their appointments and keeping them, even if there's a little bit of broken here, that's where your practice will ultimately grow. Not only the results of the yearly indicators in the practice, but the overall practice value. I mean, you're talking about improving a business that's worth something significant over a couple decades of practice.
So key, because although everyone's scheduled, let's say everyone is scheduled, this is 0. If I want to increase both patient care and team performance, then ultimately I want to decrease my patients that are rescheduling as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to do that is verbiage to the patient, and make sure they understand the importance of this appointment. Hey, look, this is how important it is to you. This is how important it is to us. This is how important it is to your health. That importance will decrease your cancellations, which means, guess what? Your front office can now take better care of the patients in front of them rather than picking up the cancellation phone call. We can decrease this number if we understand that. But if you're not tracking it, once again, you can't improve. What was that quote again, Kirk? You can't improve unless you know the truth, or something like that?
Yeah, all change process starts with telling the truth.
All
So,
change process starts. I love it. If you
so
write that one down, everyone.
yeah, you have to do that. Now, there's a couple things. One of the things that we teach here at ACT Dental Practice Coaching is that all cancellations start one place. They always start at the chair. So, when you're having a high rate of cancellations or no-shows, we can always track that back to Curtis, what Curtis just mentioned, the verbiage at the chair, because that's huge. And then the second piece is having a system for follow through or follow up when patients don't show up for their appointments. And I'll wrap this with a bow and say, hey, look, as a dental practice owner, you have to understand this, and your team does too. We teach people how to treat us. We teach them how to show up. We teach them how to behave. We teach them how to reappoint. We teach them how to behave in our businesses. And as a result, you're going to see these metrics that are so inflammatory or dangerous to the overall go down and become less of an issue.
So my office taught me really well. Curtis, you get plaque right behind those front bottom teeth, right? You got to be coming in. They taught me that importance. Okay. So I'm always coming in. Yet every time I call to change my appointment, they're totally fine with it. They don't care. Oh, well, what time would you like to come in, Mr. Marshall? Right? Which means to me, oh, they're fine with it, but I know they're not. With looking at numbers, I know they're not. But as far as me and all other patients, as far as what they're teaching is that it's totally fine. If they just change their verbiage a little bit and say something along these lines of saying, hey, Curtis, we reserved this appointment for you. My hygienist is waking up early. She's going to prep it for you. We wouldn't be able to get anyone else in at that 7 o'clock time. Is there any way that you could keep that appointment?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad thing to say to me. And if they would have said that to me, I probably would have kept my appointment.
So there's a big pearl takeaway too. I was just thinking, the dental office that you go to has got to go through our phone skills training, because it's never okay to let patients cancel. Whenever somebody calls and tries to cancel in the offices we coach, we teach team members, say that is not okay. And they find different ways to express that and go, ooh, just like you said, to express the importance of that. But you can't let people cancel. The other thing I would say too is that, going back to the chair side thing, I love it when a lot of team members that we coach say this. They say something like this: Mrs. Jones, this appointment is very important. We consider all appointments confirmed when they're scheduled. So I'm going to schedule this, and you can consider it confirmed, because we're going to be here and we're going to expect you to be here. In the event you'd like me to remind you, I'm happy to do that. But they don't tell patients we're going to confirm that we're making this appointment. And so, Curtis, if I was your hygienist, I wouldn't let you cancel. I'd be like, buddy, you're coming in.
Well, that they shouldn't have, but it was crazy. And we see this all the time. It's not this one office. And I love that your offices do that, Kirk. But if you don't know, you can't improve.
Agreed.
Right? Because if I think, oh, my schedule's just fine, and yeah, actually I can get him in at 11 o'clock, right? But if we don't know this number right here, how many people are canceling? How many people are no-showing? We can't improve.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Now, let's talk about the follow-ups too. So let's assume you're a dentist and you're like, okay, I've got my arms around those two numbers. We know that we have to fix it at the chair with our verbiage, and we also know that we have to fix it on the phone. What happens if we do all of that, Curtis? What do we do for follow-ups? In Dental Intel, do you have a follow-up system that we can still go after the people that still make it through the cracks?
Absolutely. And remember, just like we mentioned at the beginning, you may have the best verbal skills ever in the chair. You may have the best verbal skills and your patients absolutely love you, and you have the best phone skills. People will still break their appointments.
Right.
And when they break their appointment, if they don't have a future appointment, then they don't think about it. I'm sorry, guys. You're attractive. You're smart. You're everything, right? They like you, but it is very rare that somebody will schedule their appointment by themselves.
Right.
So it is important that you have some type of follow-up system. At Dental Intel, we have something awesome, but you can feel free to just write their name down on a piece of paper and file it in a certain day to come up, or put it in your cell phone as a reminder. I don't care how you do it, but make sure to follow up with your patients. Right. The way that we do it here at Dental Intel is pretty unique. Let me show you. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And while you're getting that ready, let me speak to the roll up at the front in every dental office, because sometimes dentists just get a little frustrated with team members up front, but let's talk about how difficult that role is. I mean, I joke that sometimes it's the bunker and everyone just throws grenades in the bunker and says, figure that out. There's a lot happening at the front. Whatever system you have in place for follow-up with patients, you have got to make it easy for team members to be able to do their job and not have to worry too much so that they can give their energy to people that are coming in and out of your practice, which is where it needs to be.
They need, I've worked in the front office before, and it's like running around with your head cut off sometimes.
It is.
It's like seriously so crazy. You got people coming in that you got to smile for and take care of. You got other people who are walking out that you need to make sure they get scheduled their next appointment that they pay $2,000 for, get financing. Then you got the phone ringing, and then you got a doctor telling you to do something, and then you got the bills that are coming in from insurance that you have to enter in. I mean, the list goes on. The easier we can make it for our team members, the better they can take care of the patients in front of them, and make sure that the patients in front of them have a future appointment so that you have better care and better team performance.
Amen, brother.
So here's what it is right here. We actually have a setting where if anyone were to break an appointment, you can turn these on or off, right? Cancel, we'll leave that one on. But what happens is you can say, schedule 1 day, or maybe we want 7 days after the broken appointment. I want you to remind Barbie Roberts. You know who Barbie Roberts is?
No.
That's Ken's girlfriend, Barbie Roberts.
Okay.
Another one you have in here, like King Kong, right? We all want to remind Barbie and King Kong of these follow-ups. I can't even remember what I had for dinner last night. Right. So I would suggest that you remind yourself the very next day to say, hey, this patient broke an appointment and did not reschedule.
Yep.
So if you turn on that setting, then every day right here blinking, I tell you how many patients need to get called today. This number, this is fake data. So no one really uses this, but this number should be 0 at the end of every day. In
both of those categories, there's assigned and unassigned, and so combined.
Right. So you click on this. The total follow-ups are 132. You go ahead and click on that, and this is what pops up.
Right.
It's telling you this patient right here broke an appointment and they're not scheduled. What type of an appointment is it, Kirk?
Hygiene appointment.
And how much is the value?
$327.
This patient right here also broke an appointment. What type of an appointment did they break?
Restorative.
And how much?
$1,097. So those two combined appointments, you're looking at, that's $1,300 right there just in 2 patients that are just floating in the universe without a future appointment.
So if you click on that, just any part of that person that's $1,000, $1,100, we can see that they do have a future hygiene appointment. That's great. But they just barely broke a restorative appointment. Maybe we can call them up and say, hey, come back in on the same day as your hygiene appointment, and we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Right. And this patient will be like, oh, thank you so much. I didn't even think of that.
Absolutely.
Now you have it all at your fingertips. It's no longer difficult.
Well, and I love this. Go back to that view for just a second too. You talk about tools that help a team member. Look at that. The thing that's glaring is, I'm not a big fan of just talking about insurance with the patient, but you can say the remaining insurance you have on it's $1,250. It's right in front of you. So you can help the patient utilize their benefits if that's your practice style and your vision for how you help patients.
Remember that there's 1,000, 1,100 or so on the appointment, right?
Right.
Look how many is unscheduled treatment.
Yep.
We actually even have more than that. So whatever was done, we actually have more than that on the schedule that we could get done. And really quickly, with 1 click, you can see all that data to improve patient care. That's the biggest thing. We want to get this guy taken care of because he has $1,900 of infection ultimately.
Right.
It's not, hey, I'm trying to take this guy and make him pay for an extra air filter when they come in to get their oil changed. No, this is truly needs to get done. It's not a suggestion.
Right. And this is where you put your money where your mouth is when you say, hey, look to a patient, look, I want to do the least amount of dentistry in your lifetime and take care of you. And because no dentist watching this is just over prescribing treatment. Like they're prescribing the right treatment at the right time for the right patient. So these are things that have to be done or they're going to get worse.
There's a lot of things to do with follow-ups, but if you complete that follow-up, then it will get removed and it won't remind you again. Or if you say, hey, remind me in 3 weeks from now, it'll remind you in 3 weeks from now. I'll take it off to today and remind. So whatever you're using, the main goal here, get the patients back in, have a specific day that you're going to follow up with them. If you don't have a specific day, you won't get it done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to give you a little perspective on what's going to be happening in the future, this isn't a problem that's going to go away. It's going to get more complex and it's going to have larger tentacles that will get in all of people's lives. So getting your arms around this at this point in the game is very important.
So Kirk, thanks for bringing that up because it is truly something, it's underlining and it's detrimental to the practice. If they don't understand where you are at today with broken appointments, it will destroy you and maybe not like hurt you financially, but you will work harder and harder and harder and harder producing the same results.
Amen.
Right? So that's going to destroy you. You may be, hey, I'm still keeping my same production. Yeah, but you're working harder and harder and harder and harder because of broken appointments. It's the number one most detrimental number in a practice if you're not paying attention to it.
Right. And it's a number you got to learn. So if you can either figure this out on your own through your own software, which most softwares do a pretty good job of that, or you can just plug in the Dental Intel app and it'll just give it to you right on your phone and tell you what that number is every day. And your team members can have access to that information. And Curtis, you guys are kind enough to create what you call a snapshot, which in less than 5 minutes, any dentist can see all of these numbers in just a short period of time. It plugs right into your computer and works with certain softwares and it'll give you that information. You can find that if you're listening to us on iTunes, it's actdental.com/snapshot, or we're going to post a link where you can just click in it and just enter your information. And one of the team members at Dental Intel will reach out to you and get you connected and you can see all this information. Is that, the snapshot's pretty easy to get, right, Curtis?
Yeah, it's only $1 million to get it. That's it.
No, it's free.
That's absolutely because of we've really enjoyed being on your show, and we've had a lot of fun with this. We've had a lot of interactions. Ritter Ramsey last time, an office in Florida, was really saying how much he loves listening to you, Kirk, and loved listening to this data. Other doctors call us up. It is absolutely free. So yeah, feel free. We will show you within 5 minutes. We'll be able to show you these two numbers for you: your cancellations and your no-shows, but most importantly, how many are unscheduled. That's the number we truly care about. How many patients are unscheduled out of the broken and no-shows or cancellations and no-shows.
As always, I'm so grateful for every minute I get with you, Curtis. I learned so much every single time. And thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being on. I hope you found this valuable, and I know you did. If you would do us a favor, just hit the share button, share with your friends, and keep sending us good feedback about things that you want to see in the show here in the future. And we'll do our best to get them on. Until we see you next time, keep watching the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.